So tell us, like, for somebody who's sitting here now going, okay, I know I'm particularly crap at sales. I know there was a girl I used to work with and she'd say to me, please, Louise, please, just don't ask me to do those calls. She said, I'd rather stick a pin in my eye than do those
Yeah.
calls. So, like, where do you start? Obviously, buy your book. And for anyone who's just listening in here, what are the steps you advise that somebody should follow to have better sales conversations?
Okay. So if somebody says they're terrified of sales, what you can't say is, don't worry, just try. You just can't say that, not to an introvert or a shy person. Okay. So what I talk about are reframes. So I always say to people, look, forget about selling for 1 second. Not selling to anybody, helping people. And the fact is that most people, even those who are shy, even those who are introverts, even those who cannot think of anything worse than picking up the phone and calling someone, or even sending an email to a stranger, everybody wants to help someone. And if you say to yourself, I'm not selling, I'm helping somebody, that change of attitude and that change of mindset means you're more likely to contact the person. It means you're more likely to be a person of value, which is really what selling is.
Welcome to the Social Media Takeaway. I'm your host, Therese McDonald, and this is the show for business people that want to know how to use social media more effectively to drive sales and leads for their business. If you enjoy the show, please make sure you subscribe. And if you know any friends or business colleagues who may benefit from this episode, please make sure that you share it with them.
So today I am absolutely delighted to be joined by Niraj Kapoor. He is the best-selling author of Everybody Works in Sale. He brings over 23 years of invaluable experience spanning various roles in small businesses to FTSE 100 companies. His journey from navigating the intricacies of diverse business landscapes has culminated in a profound understanding of sales dynamics. You're very welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I love all those big words you use. They make me sound really important.
I really had to practice saying them
Merci.
because they're not easy words to say either. So thank you.
It's good to see you again, Louise.
Good to see you too. So sales, how did you get so good at sales?
By being really bad at sales for a very long time. That's the first thing, people don't realize, because a lot of people when I'm coaching them say, you make it look really easy. I'm like, yeah, but I spent years not being very. And then I did this smart thing, which most people don't do, is I invested very heavily in myself by reading books every month, by going to conferences a few times a year, and by getting a sales coach. That is how you become exceptional at sales. You don't become exceptional by guessing. A lot of Irish people think, oh, I'll just do it through the gift of the gab. I'm Irish. And don't get me wrong, some Irish people do have the gift of the gab. But for most of them, they have to work on it.
It's so true. I have this thing. I don't know if you agree with me. Like, I think most people are allergic to sales.
Well, I speak to people. So my LinkedIn DMs are very busy. So the number of people who reach out to me going, look, I really hate sales. Can you do it for me? And no, not in a million years. That's not my job. My job is to teach you how to do it so you become better and I empower you. Where people say, look, I hate sales. Any cheat sheets you can tell me? No, there's no cheat sheets. There's no easy answers. You have to put in the work. You become good at anything in life. You have to put in the work. And I think a lot of it is about rejection, of course, is when you're in sales, you're always going to reject. Nobody likes to be rejected. And that's the problem you have. It's overcoming the initial barrier of people hanging up on the phone, people ignoring you, people ghosting you. Of course, if you're a business owner, you take that very personally because it's your business and you have to generate revenue and you have to earn and make a living and take care of your family or pay your bills. There's a lot of emotions and a lot of intricacies and a lot of complicated issues involved when it comes to sales. But in terms of learning about sales, majority of it, believe it or not, is the mindset, and a majority of it is your attitude towards sales and how much you really want to learn sales. So I guess you could say it's about mindset, attitude, and also having a desire and a bit of a hunger to actually want to do.
Yeah. And I've said this before when we talk about sales. I think that people think that marketing replaces sales and that they don't realize that sales is a function of marketing, that without the sales, the marketing just becomes a waste of time. Yeah, I think so. So you tell us about the book. Everybody Works in Sales.
I spent almost 23 years in the corporate world. It was only really in my 11th year, I would say I became a decent salesperson. And in my 16th year, I started to hit president clubs and become the top 1% because I got a coach. I started reading books, started going to conferences. And I loved it. I was what you would call a player coach. So I spent half my day selling like everybody else and half my day coaching my team to success. In all fairness, coaching my team to success gave me greater joy. Taking somebody who was an introvert, not making them an extrovert, giving them confidence was very important. Taking somebody who was an A player and making them an A plus player, that's really hard to do. That was important. Taking a B player, making them an A player, I can't tell you the joy you get from helping people do that, especially young people. They really appreciate it. I thought, this is what I want to do with my life. The problem was around 2016, 2017, Louise, most companies weren't investing properly in their teams, and profit became the number one thing. Of course, businesses are built for profit. We know this. But you have to invest in your team. You have to coach your team. And the companies I was working for weren't doing that. So I thought, you know what? I want to do this myself. But I had no idea how to. Being good at your job and being good at running a business are two completely different skills. I'm very good at sales, but I had no idea how to run a business. And I found it very difficult. I thought, I need some kind of hook to track people. So I wrote Everybody Works in Sales. And the reason it became an international bestseller in 12 countries is because I thought, okay, I can't compete with the best salespeople in the world who've written books. There's nothing I can say that's going to be smarter or better than them. So what I did was I told my story of my 23 years in sales and my life and how I'd failed so much and overcome that failure. And because most sales books are very show-offy, and my book was about struggle and overcoming failure, people reacted to it emotionally and they really invested in it. And I got amazing reviews and they recommended it to friends and they gifted it to friends, and salespeople were buying it for their sales teams. And all of a sudden, the book just took off. And there's certain moments you have in your life and your career that you never forget. And that was definitely one of those moments.
I can imagine, like a number one bestseller in how many, did you say 12, 13 countries?
It wasn't number one. It was an Amazon bestseller in 12 different countries.
That's amazing.
It's currently on about 110 reviews worldwide. Half the people who reviewed the book, I have no idea who they are, which is even better. I really have no idea, but I'm very grateful to them. But here's the thing, nobody tells you about being a bestseller. After a few months, the royalties run out. And I was enjoying life. I'm like, this is brilliant. This life's a bestseller. People say it takes 5 years to make a business successful. I'm successful in 3 months. What are you talking about? And after month 3, the royalties went from thousands of pounds a month to hundreds of pounds a month, which for those listening in South of Ireland, we're talking about 200 or 300 euros. You cannot pay your mortgage on 200 or 300 euros a month. You can't feed a family on 200 or 300 euros a month. And all of a sudden, I'm having a major panic thinking, what am I supposed to do? How do I make money? So of course I went on LinkedIn, buy my book, buy my coaching. Nobody cared. And that shocked me, really shocked me, because I was just another solopreneur, another business owner trying to make it in a sea of crowded business owner. There was nothing really new or different with me after I'd sold several thousand copies of the book. And major panic set in. And sometimes in life, you have to really struggle and go through difficult times before you become better at anything. And that's what I always say to people working in sales. It's okay to be terrible. It's okay to start off at the bottom. That's how you get.
So tell us, like, for somebody who's sitting here now going, okay, I know I'm particularly crap at sales. I know there was a girl I used to work with and she'd say to me, please, Louise, please, just don't ask me to do those calls. She said, I'd rather stick a pin in my eye than do those calls. So, like, where do you start? Obviously, by your book. And for anyone who's just listening in here, what are the steps you advise that somebody should follow to have better sales conversations?
Okay. So if somebody says they're terrified of sales, what you can't say is, don't worry, just try. You just can't say that, not to an introvert or a shy person. Okay. So what I talk about are reframes. So I always say to people, forget about selling for 1 second. I'm not selling to anybody, helping people. And the fact is that most people, even those who are shy, even those who are introverts, even those who cannot think of anything worse than picking up the phone and calling someone, or even sending an email to a stranger, everybody wants to help someone. And if you say to yourself, I'm not selling, I'm helping somebody, that change of attitude and that change of mindset means you're more likely to contact the person. It means you're more likely to be a person of value, which really what selling is. You can call it a transfer of energy. You can call it a transfer of value. You can call it helping people. You can call it serving. All of those are absolutely fine, by the way. But that's what sales is. And when I talk to people who are introvert or shy or terrified of sales and tell them to take that attitude, it's amazing how many of, sometimes I'll do it immediately.
It's so true, actually.
Don't forget, my business is now 7 years. And the first few years are very tough because I was trying to learn how to run a business. Then, of course, I went through a traumatic divorce for a year, knocked me out completely. And then lockdown. And all these things happen in life. And sometimes you have big life moments which do affect your confidence and affect your sales. It's moments like that really define you. It's really important people understand that in sales, that, you know, it's okay to go through difficult times. doesn't really matter. We all go through difficult times. It's not what happens to you. It's how you react to what happens to you. It's how you deal with it. That's why the first thing I deal with when I work with anybody, Louise, is have to work on your mindset, have to work on your routines. I have to work on your habit. A lot of people, when they get pushed back, start getting nervous and thinking, oh God, I'm losing this deal. Again, that's all about habits, attitude, things like that. If somebody offers me an objection, it's how you perceive it. Look at that. It's a really good signal for growth. The person wants to buy from me because they're asking questions. They're showing potential interest. Very common one right now is call back in 3 months. That's what you hear a lot. Most people make the mistake. Of course, I'll call you back in 3 months' time. You call the person and you can't get hold of them, or they forget who you are and you have to start again, and it's a complete waste of time. So when a client says to me, call back in 3 months, the first thing I say is, I'll be more than happy to. What time, on what day, and I send them an invite. So at least it's in the diary, which is very important. The second thing I say is 3 months is a long time in business. I want to make sure I'm still giving you value. Is it okay if I send you some valuable content every week or every 2 weeks? I promise not to spam you. I just want to make sure you get good value until we speak again. And about 70% of people will say yes. 30% will say no, and they're going to be a much tougher because they're really not interested. But don't forget, sometimes when people are interested, they can't say no. So they drag you along. So they can't say no to your face. It is a hard thing to do sometimes. But I'm constantly giving value. And it means that 3 months later, when I call you, A, it's in the diary, and B, I'm giving you 3 months worth of insight on LinkedIn or on sales strategies. Therefore, you're a much warmer client. And therefore, when we have this conversation, you're almost like halfway through the sales process. It's a big difference to starting again to being halfway through a sales process.
And what are some good questions to ask when you're having those phone calls?
The initial phone call or the follow-up one?
Any sense, initial or follow up. Start with the initial.
Okay, so I had a LinkedIn inquiry this morning. She says, want to have rates for your LinkedIn training. And I'm like, before I quote you rates, I have no idea what you want. I love when people just say, quote me. I'm like, quote you what in training? But what does that mean?
An hour, 2 days, a week, come on.
What we do is not copy and paste. You have to spend time preparing for every single call in detail. And almost everybody you work with is different. It's boutique and crafted especially for you to get you the best results. Because if I get you the best results, you're going to give me a recommendation to somebody else, hopefully, or you're at least going to give me a recommendation on LinkedIn. That's not going to happen unless I over-deliver for you. So I have to the best environment to get results for you. Ask questions like, what do you want to achieve? Which is a very important question. Why do you want to achieve it? Because understanding somebody's why helps you understand them. How committed are you to achieving this? That's a very powerful coaching question. Somebody says 7 out of 10 or 6 out of 10, they're going to be a pain to work with. If somebody says 9 or 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10 is obviously ideal. If they say even 8 or 9, they're going to be okay to work with. I always say to them, what kind of budget? You also had a thought of this. What kind of budget do you have set aside? And that's very important because if they say a few £100, you know you've got a lot of work to do, or you just say no straight away. If they say I've got about 1,000, 2,000, you think, okay, I can spend more time talking to you. I can take my time getting to know you because you really are a potential customer. But be careful in the questions as well. You don't ask more than, say, 3 or 4 questions in a row. And then once you've asked those questions, you want to repeat the answers back to the person because it shows you're listening. Most people in sales calls do not listen. What they do is they listen artificially and then try to sell their product or service. So what you must do after you've asked these questions is make sure you're taking notes and then repeat the highlights of those notes back to the person to make sure they know you have listened, and then to ask, is there anything else I might have missed? That shows a bit more humility, more humble, and it shows you're willing to learn more as well. And these are all simple questions and processes I teach people in coaching because sales is a bit of an art form, a bit of a science too, of course, but there's certain ways and systems of doing things. And once you understand these things, sales becomes a bit easier. It's never easy, but it's easier.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And tell me, when somebody then has an objection around price, how do you handle that?
Okay. So you are talking, I want to sell, say, LinkedIn training to you. And you go, I mean, Niraj, £1,200 for 4 sessions. You're too expensive. The big mistake people make is they go, but I'm an award-winning company and my customer service is really amazing. And what they do is they start defending themselves and they start speaking to. That's the most common objection I see. Or sometimes they just sit there in silence thinking, oh God. And they're almost like a deer in headlights. They're like almost frozen because they don't know how to respond. So bear in mind, the person you're talking to is a human being. Have a conversation with them like they're a human being, not a prospect, potential client, a human being. So Louise, you said I'm too expensive. Compared to, and you listen to the answer. And you might say, compared to one of your competitors. Is there anything that's truly bothering you in the business that I haven't paid attention to? And you listen again. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm not trying to defend my position. I'm not saying to anybody, come on, 3 best-selling books. I'm a TEDx speaker. You should be paying a lot of money for my services. No, I'm not saying any of that. I'm asking questions, trying to understand the person's position as to why they are doing what they are doing. And that's very important. And again, I observe demos every single week on Zoom or Teams. I listen to phone calls every Friday morning. I'll listen to clients' phone calls for at least half an hour, 40 minutes. I rarely hear people say that when it comes to objections.
Very good. That's very interesting, isn't it? And so tell me then, I know you're a big fan of LinkedIn as well. So how do you translate all of your expertise over to LinkedIn? Because you have a really successful LinkedIn profile as well.
The way I communicate on LinkedIn is different because LinkedIn, I use video and I use voice notes. And people always say to me, how do you communicate on video? Do you have a camera set up? What do you do? I'm like, no, this is how I communicate on LinkedIn. Literally have my phone speak into the camera. That's it. There's no editing. There's no software. I pick up the phone. I look into say to somebody, thank you so much for commenting my profile. I had to look at your LinkedIn profile. I looked at some of the posts you've done. I wish you share posts instead of writing original content. Even though sharing posts is a lovely thing to do. You don't build following, you don't generate leads, you don't become a thought leader by resharing posts. But writing original content, you do. If you want me to share some other LinkedIn advice, happy to have a 10, 15-minute call with you. Thank you. Here are my details. That is really important and a really good way of communicating with someone. I'm saying, here's how you're doing something. Here is a much better way of doing something. And if you want to learn more, I'm happy to have a brief chat for 10 or 15 minutes. I'm not saying, here's my program. I'm not saying if you want some LinkedIn training, please contact me. I'm being a person of value. I'm helping somebody. Again, I'd probably say half people come back to me going, thank you very much. About 40% of people ignore me. And 10% of people go, oh my God, that's amazing. Thank you. Can we have a meeting? Have a meeting with those people. And sometimes I just leave them better off than how I found them. And sometimes they go, I can inquire more about coaching. Can you tell me more about that, please? And that's how you do business. Again, it's a very conversation. It's very helpful.
I always say to people, the people that make the most money from social media are not the people with the most followers. They're the people with the biggest email list.
That's a very good point.
It is because that's how you scale. So tell me, how are you using it?
I use AI. I sometimes use it in email writing because I find it very useful. LinkedIn's AI, unfortunately, is not very good. I'm sorry, LinkedIn, but it's really not good enough. I've actually done posts on LinkedIn where I've used LinkedIn AI against my original posts, and my posts have been liked vastly more than AI's, which were really generic and bland. According to LinkedIn's AI, it's, hi, hope you're well. I see you're connected to this person here. Cheapers can't do business in 2025 and beyond with messages like it. You just can't.
No.
So obviously Salesforce, I do a lot of work with them and I speak at their events, and their AI is the only one I've seen that's quite exceptional. Zoom Info now are starting to really do a very good job with AI, and they're almost like prompts. The prompts are very good. And so I like that. But a lot of AI out there is very generic. And right now, my LinkedIn DMs are bombarded with companies who are saying, hi, I see you talk a lot of AI at events. Can you please beta test our platform? Let us know what it's like. I'm like, of course I can. Here's my bill for £1,000. Who do I send it to? Oh, no, we can't pay you. We just want you to beta test. But why? It's amazing how many insincere, inappropriate people are trying to sell AI right now. Whether it's AI events, AI networking events, or AI software, where they expect you to pay for their services, but they want you to work for free testing their services. It's incredible. Well, the AI industry is not really well regulated, sadly. Then again, now there's the coaching industry. That's a different conversation, but it's true. I just wish it was better regulated, because every single day, without feel. I have a CEO of an AI company approach me, and none of them sound like, you know what CEOs sound like? None of them sound like CEOs. They sound like amateurs who are really trying just to get free advice and free testing. There's a big difference between that and a CEO. Again, in business, don't be fooled by job titles from anybody.
Exactly. Look, I think as well, just to go back a step or two to your very successful post, and congratulations, by the way, that is a really lovely story. And you ruined my makeup a little bit while you were telling it. But what I'd say, I suppose, again, and is that it's the emotion. I think when you can get an emotion and you can get authenticity and emotion into a post, you see then how people respond. So I'm not surprised that the post got 850 comments.
Final thoughts. I'm going to go back to something you just said, because it's really good advice. So many people will often watch you on LinkedIn for 3 months, 6 months, sometimes even a year. They won't even like or comment in your posts, but often they'll reach out to you. That's why showing is so important. Sales is not something you do when you're falling behind. And that's the mistake I see a lot of people make. Sales has to be a daily habit. Even today, literally 20 minutes before lunch, I followed up with 2 people. First person wasn't around. The second person was. And I followed up, not by email, by picking up this. Never underestimate the importance of picking up a phone. People hardly make phone calls ever. I get maybe 3, 4 cold calls a week. I used to get 30 or 40. Now it's only 3 or 4. People are not making phone calls. So please show up consistently. Always follow up effectively. Be aware of your mindset when it comes to sales. It's not sales, serving and helping people. Have a positive attitude all the time, because you always achieve more with a positive attitude than a negative one. And lastly, if you want to succeed at anything in life, you hire a coach like me or an expert who can take you there in any field, no matter what that field is. Someone like you or me, Louise, we will take people further, way faster if they spent 5 years learning about it on Google or ChatGPT.
This is so true. What amazing advice. Thank you so much for coming on to the show and for sharing your advice with us. Now, if people want to check you out and find you, where will they find you?
If you go to everybodyworksinsales.com or simply Niraj Kapoor on LinkedIn, tell me you've listened to Louise's podcast. I reject most invites I get, so please send me a personalized invite if you can, because 30,000 is the limit you have on LinkedIn. I'm on 36. Most of those are followers, but many are connections too. So if you can send me a message or a personalized invite, that's even better.
Excellent. I love it. Thank you so much once again. And reach out to it if you need to get better at sales. This is the guy for you. And that's definitely the book as well. Everybody works in sales. Niraj Kapoor, you're very welcome. And thank you.
It's great talking to you again.
Thank you.
That's it, everyone. That's another episode of the Social Media Takeaway. If you have some feedback, make sure that you tag us on social media. You'll find me under Sell on Social M, or on LinkedIn, you'll find me under Louise McDonald. I'd love to hear your feedback and what you thought about the show. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. And if you know anyone who may be interested, be sure to share the show with them too. Thanks, everyone.